those who are deeply interested in the well-being of all living entities. So, one last thing before I get going. Probably when I have a minute left, and I promise not to take more than 2 minutes. We are in a wonderful moment in the year where we meditate upon what keeps the light burning, about the Deepa. And so, Ganapati, one of my favorites, because he's the diagnostician. You know, the secret is we're not supposed to ask anything from the divines. That's doing business. We're supposed to place ourselves in the service of. But Ganapati reminds us, because his two consulates are Buddhi and Siddhi. Buddhi, the discernment we need to be of value to others. Siddhi, the perfection that we're trying to achieve and serving them in the seva we're performing. Om Prathalam Vakratundam Cha Ekadantam Ditiyakam Tritiyam Krishna Pingaksham Gajavaktram Chaturtikam Nambodaram Panchamam Cha Shashtam Vikatam Evacha Saptamam Vignarajendram Chadunravarnam Tatashtamam Navamam Balachandram Cha Dasamam Tu Vinayakam Ekadasham Ganapatim Dvadasham Tugajananam. The number one medicine in yoga and Ayurveda is the sound vibrations of the Sanskrit language. This is the first and last remedy, the final remedy. And it is the remedy that will take us where we're going. It keeps us on track, which begins with Ashtanga Yoga as the correct embodiment in the human form, which should be monitored by two groups of specialists. The Ayurvedic practitioner, watching how the embodiment of the child is progressing. And the Jyotishi, when I became a Jyotish, my guru, who was from India, living in London at the time, was the astrologer, the first astrologer of Jyotish to come to the West. M.K. Gandhi was his name. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, you know the rest. I feel it in my heart. Before I became his student, he said, "You're adhikari because you just spent 5 years as a brahmachari in an ashram," which I had done. He said, "So I'm going to give you the 9 mantras to the 9 grahas, the 9 beings who constitute the human being, whose energetic manifestation at the stage of evolution that it's at is the readable form of what we brought with us into this life. It is the original diagnostic tool. It is the X-ray." He gave me and a friend of mine, who would be his students, the 9 graha mantras. Om Aim Namo Devi Saraswatya, Om Aim Brahmanye Namaha. Then he said, Om Aim Krim Klim Shrim Suryaya Om Namaha, Chandraya Om Namaha, Managalaya Om Namaha, Budhaya Om Namaha, Shukraya Om Namaha, Brihaspataye Om Namaha, Shanaishcharaya Om Namaha, Rahove Namaha, Ketave Namaha Om. He said, now chant each of those mantras 100,000 times and I'll teach you Jyotish. My friend and I spent the next 3 months, 12 hours a day, chanting 900,000 mantras. To be adhikari, qualified to become a Jyotish. So that your head is not filled with the nonsense and with the mistaken understandings, so that you become a blueprint reader and you can see the archetypes. You know where that word comes from? Arka, Surya, Aryama, Bhaga, Tvastar, Purushan, Arka. The sun, Surya, is the archetype. All the things we study as science emanate from Surya. And so we say, Om Bhur Bhuvasva Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. In that light, which is the same light that Jyotish is studying. So if you think of Jyotish as the root of what is happening, and of the grahas in the person's chart at birth as the indication of it's where they bookmarked from their previous lives. What did you bring with you this time? Shukra in this, Brihaspati in this, in where? In this house, in that place. It's that original X-ray of what we brought in with us, what we're wearing, what we're carrying, and listen carefully when it will unfold. I was so excited to tell you this, I forgot to say how honored I am to be here. Those two compete all the time. I can't say how grateful I am to have this opportunity. But you see, I forgot. I so wanted to share something with you that you would not ever lose, that could add to this discussion. So I only have a few minutes. Or more, if they say so. This is the science of time. Timing is everything. A tick, a tick, a tick, a tick of time. That's how the song goes. The clock is ticking. So is the Jyotish. So is each graha inside of it. So is it moving in a particular place. So this is called psychosomatic healing. Somatic is the Ayurveda. Without it, we're pretending we're not within Prakriti. Oh, but we are. And knowing that and honoring that and acknowledging that and living that and knowing your body type in detail and your diet then in detail and what happens when you interact with your parents because of their grahas and your brothers and sisters because of theirs. These complex sociological situations are what medicine is being practiced in the midst of. If we don't know about them, that we don't understand that each individual is receiving what they ordered from the system in a previous life at every stage of manifestation. And we're acting as if what we do with them is the only variable. And this is where, before the colonization took place and the entropy of that, these sciences were wed together and you learned both of them. In your PhD program, you learned the one you knew less of. If you were Jyotishi, you learned Ayurveda. If you were an Ayurveda, you learned some Jyotishi before you graduated. And then you called each other in as experts so you could know, is the patient having Sade Sati? You should all know that one. Is Saturn in the sign before their moon, of their moon, or after their moon? That is the 7.5 years where Saturn, Shani, delivers the extra specially important karmas that need to rearrange your system in terms of what you've requested previously. It's all going to land and change the game. Who was afraid of Shani? No, Shani is simply the one who says, bottom line. The buck stops here. So they call Sati Sati the time when kings become beggars and beggars become kings. It's the wild card in the deck. But in between, all the tracking that we do, all the pulses that are intertwined with the constellations and the grahas. And if you know the grahas and can recognize them in the person, you don't see one person. You see the many voices in the one person and who takes turns speaking when and who does what when. You see in depth the complexities of the part that they can no longer control because they ordered it from the system of a long time ago. I know my time is up.
You are very kind.
Because I'm a Jyotishi, so I'm going to say this and stop there. And I know it's like a freight train. When can we tell him? They're all very wonderful. This Renaissance, and we call it the Vedic Renaissance, this Renaissance, in the French are happy, so that this unfolding of these sciences is yoga hitting the deepest levels of our being. It was an honor to be here with you. If anyone would like to be in personal contact, feel free. Otherwise, this is a Renaissance, and it's so wonderful that we're all here. And lastly, my favorite, Davy, Om Namo Devi Saraswati. Om Namo.